a peaceful neighborhood where doors were left unlocked, where families felt safe, until one night changed everything. A brutal attack that no one saw coming, and a killer armed with an ancient weapon that turned an ordinary home into a scene of horror. The victims never stood a chance. The attack was swift, merciless, and left an entire nation in shock. Who was Kyle Clifford? Why did he choose this gruesome method? And what led to the chilling events that would leave investigators and the public horrified? This is the story of Kyle Clifford, the Crossbow Killer, the chilling crimes of Kyle Clifford that shocked the nation. Carol Hunt, age 61, was the devoted wife of BBC racing commentator John Hunt. She was known for her warmth and active involvement in the community. Their eldest daughter, Hannah Hunt, 28, was a skilled beautician, working in the beauty industry alongside her Jewish colleagues. She was in a relationship with a former JFS student. Louise Hunt, 25, demonstrated entrepreneurial spirit by establishing a dog grooming business during the lockdown period. Operating from a pod in the family's garden, she quickly became well known locally, attracting numerous clients, including many from the Jewish community. The Hunt family resided in the tranquil town of Bushy Hertfordshire. Neighbors and clients described them as lovely and kind-hearted, reflecting the close-knit and peaceful nature of their community. Their lives were intertwined with the local community, participating in events and maintaining strong relationships with neighbors and friends. However, the serenity of their existence was shattered by an unimaginable tragedy, forever altering the fabric of their peaceful town. Kyle Clifford, a 26-year-old former soldier, had briefly served in the Queen's Dragoon Guards. He was also the ex-boyfriend of Louise Hunt, having ended their 18-month relationship just 13 days before the tragic events. On July 9, 2024, a horrific crime unfolded in Bushy Hertfordshire. Clifford brutally murdered 3 women, 61-year-old Carol Hunt, her 28-year-old daughter Hannah, and his ex-partner, 25-year-old Louise. The attack was meticulously planned and executed with chilling precision. Clifford deceived Carol to gain entry into the family home, where he stabbed her to death. He then restrained and raped Louise before fatally shooting her and Hannah with a crossbow. The sheer brutality of these acts left the community and the nation in shock. The relationship and its downfall. Kyle Clifford and Louise Hunt embarked on an 18-month relationship that began with promise, but gradually deteriorated into toxicity. Initially, the couple appeared happy, sharing common interests and spending considerable time together. However, as months passed, Clifford's behavior became increasingly controlling and aggressive. Friends and family observed his nasty temper and aggressive manner, raising concerns about the toll the relationship was taking on Louise. Her sister, Hannah, described Clifford as disrespectful, rude, and arrogant, reflecting the growing unease among those close to Louise. Unbeknownst to Louise, Clifford was also engaging in relationships with other women, further eroding the trust between them. The relationship, once filled with affection, had become emotionally draining, leading Louise to end it on June 26, 2024. This breakup marked the culmination of a partnership that had started with happiness but had descended into a toxic and untenable situation. Tragically, this separation set the stage for the horrific events that would soon unfold. The warning signs Louise Hunt couldn't ignore. In the weeks leading up to their breakup, Louise Hunt confided in friends and family about several troubling aspects of Kyle Clifford's behavior. She noted his nasty temper and aggressive demeanor, which left her emotionally drained. Louise also documented instances where Clifford made racist and transphobic remarks, found his family's violent actions amusing, and exhibited road rage. These red flags contributed to her decision to end their 18-month relationship on June 26, 2024. Compounding her concerns, Louise was aware of Clifford's close relationship with his older brother Bradley, who was serving a life sentence for a 2017 road rage murder. Bradley had deliberately chased and killed an 18-year-old moped rider after an altercation, an incident that deeply troubled Louise. Clifford frequently visited Bradley in prison and maintained regular contact, a bond that increasingly worried Louise as she observed parallels between the brothers' aggressive behaviors. These mounting issues led Louise to end the relationship, hoping to distance herself from the escalating toxicity and potential danger. Prelude to the Crime, Planning and Preparation. After Louise Hunt ended their 18-month relationship on June 26, 2024, Kyle Clifford's mental state deteriorated rapidly. He became increasingly consumed by anger and resentment, feelings that were exacerbated by his exposure to violent, misogynistic content online. Clifford began immersing himself in material from controversial figures like Andrew Tate, whose content promotes harmful views about women. This toxic influence further distorted Clifford's perception of women and relationships, fueling his growing animosity. His military background, which had instilled discipline and strategic thinking, now took a dark turn as he started contemplating a heinous act of violence. Clifford's fragile ego and deep-seated insecurities transformed his heartbreak into a deadly resolve, setting the stage for the tragic events that would soon unfold. Shopping list for murder. Following the end of his 18-month relationship with Louise Hunt on June 26, 2024, Kyle Clifford embarked on a calculated path of vengeance, meticulously assembling tools for a premeditated attack. His preparations began on June 28 when he purchased a 30-meter length of rope from Tool Station in Enfield. On July 3rd, Clifford expanded his arsenal by acquiring a Horizon Comet MXT-405 compound crossbow, accompanied by 6 carbon crossbow bolts and an Excalibur rope cocking device, totaling 357 pounds. In addition to the crossbow, he ordered a CO-2 Glock air pistol valued at 244 pounds. However, this item was not delivered before the attack. Clifford further equipped himself by purchasing an 89-pound Dahlstrong Phantom Series 10-inch butcher knife known for its high-level butchery capabilities. His preparations also included the acquisition of 2 rolls of silver duct tape from B&Q and 2 petrol cans from Halford's, items that would later play a role in his sinister plan. Beyond gathering weapons and tools, Clifford conducted extensive research into the Hunt family's routines. He monitored the Facebook activity of Carol Hunt, Louise's mother, and investigated the work schedule of John Hunt, Louise's father, to ensure he could execute his plan when they were most vulnerable. This meticulous accumulation of weapons and intelligence underscores the cold-blooded nature of Clifford's intentions as he transformed everyday items into instruments of terror. Military expertise and planning. Kyle Clifford's brief military service, though marked by underperformance, provided him with foundational knowledge in tactical operations and weaponry. This background likely influenced his methodical approach to the crimes. The selection of a crossbow as his primary weapon reflects a strategic choice. Crossbows are silent, reducing the chance of alerting neighbors or passers-by during the attack. Their lethality at close range makes them effective for swift, fatal strikes, aligning with military principles of stealth and efficiency. The acquisition of a butcher knife indicates planning for close-quarters combat, a scenario often emphasized in military training. Such a weapon ensures control over the victim with minimal noise, adhering to tactics that prevent drawing attention. Rope and duct tape are versatile tools in military operations, commonly used for restraint, securing equipment, or creating improvised solutions in the field. In this context, they were intended to immobilize victims, preventing resistance and facilitating control over the situation. The purchase of petrol suggests a contingency plan to destroy evidence, a tactic aligned with military strategies to maintain operational security by eliminating traces of activity. Clifford's systematic procurement of these items demonstrates a calculated application of military strategies to civilian targets, underscoring a chilling adaptation of combat tactics to perpetrate domestic violence. The day of the murders, July 9, 2024. On July 9, 2024, Kyle Clifford executed a meticulously planned attack on the Hunt family residence in Bushy, Hertfordshire. At approximately 1:40 p.m., Clifford parked his vehicle on a nearby street and conducted surveillance to assess the presence of family members. Around 2:32 p.m., concealing a butcher knife in his rucksack, he approached the house and rang the doorbell. Carol Hunt, 61, answered the door, and Clifford claimed he was returning belongings belongings of his ex-girlfriend. Trusting his pretense, Carol allowed him entry. Once inside, Clifford launched a brutal assault, fatally stabbing Carol. The attack was swift and lethal, silencing Carol before she could raise an alarm. After ensuring Carol was deceased, Clifford exited the house at 3:07 p.m. to retrieve additional weapons, including a crossbow, from his car. He re-entered the residence, concealing the crossbow under a blanket, and awaited the arrival of his next target. Louise Hunt, 25, was occupied with her dog grooming business in an outbuilding on the property, unaware of the horror unfolding inside her home. At 4:11 p.m., Louise entered the main house where Clifford ambushed her. He restrained her using duct tape, binding her wrists and ankles, and gagged her to prevent any outcry. Over the next several hours, Clifford subjected Louise to unspeakable acts of violence, including physical assault and rape. During this time, he used Louise's phone to send a message to her father, John Hunt, inquiring about his return time, a tactic aimed at ensuring he would not be interrupted. Clifford's actions during this period were calculated to maintain control and prevent detection, reflecting a chilling level of premeditation. Throughout the afternoon, Clifford's meticulous planning and execution of his attack unfolded with precision, leading to a series of tragic events that would devastate the Hunt family. Evening. As evening descended on July 9, 2024, the Hunt household became the scene of further atrocities. At approximately 6:50 p.m., Kyle Clifford escalated his assault on Louise Hunt, who remained bound and gagged. He retrieved the crossbow and, in a calculated act of brutality, shot her through the back, ensuring her fatal injury. Moments later, at 6:52 p.m., Hannah Hunt returned home from work. Unaware of the horrors inside, she entered the house and called out to her family. Upon discovering the gruesome scene, Hannah confronted Clifford. A struggle ensued, during which Hannah managed to send a text message to her boyfriend, pleading for immediate police assistance. Despite her courageous efforts, Clifford overpowered Hannah and shot her with the crossbow at 6:54 p.m. Critically injured, Hannah made a desperate 999 call, informing emergency services of the attack before succumbing to her injuries. John Hunt, the patriarch of the family, returned home later that evening to a devastating scene. His wife and 2 daughters brutally murdered. The calculated cruelty of Clifford's actions left an indelible mark on the community and shattered the lives of those who knew and loved the Hunt family. The Manhunt and Capture. Following the tragic discovery of Carol, Hannah, and Louise Hunt's bodies on the evening of July 9, 2024, Hertfordshire police swiftly identified Kyle Clifford as the prime suspect. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, authorities launched an extensive manhunt, cautioning the public that Clifford was armed and dangerous and advising against any direct contact. The search operation spanned approximately 22 hours, during which armed officers meticulously combed areas across Hertfordshire and the neighboring London borough of Enfield. The urgency of the situation was palpable, with law enforcement employing all available resources to apprehend Clifford. During this period, police conducted searches of properties linked to Clifford, including his residence in Enfield. These efforts aimed to gather intelligence on his possible whereabouts and to prevent any further harm. Kyle's suicide attempt and subsequent paralysis. During the extensive 22-hour manhunt, authorities located Kyle Clifford in Lavender Hill Cemetery in Enfield, North London, on July 10, 2024. As armed officers and a police dog approached, Clifford attempted suicide by shooting himself in the chest with the same crossbow used in the murders. This self-inflicted injury resulted in paralysis from the waist down. Officers provided immediate medical assistance at the scene before transporting him to the Royal London Hospital for further treatment. Clifford's suicide attempt occurred after he was discovered cowering in undergrowth within the cemetery. The severity of his injury led to permanent paralysis from the chest down. Following the incident, he was placed under police guard and remained hospitalized for an extended period before being deemed fit for questioning. This desperate act marked the culmination of Clifford's violent actions, leading to his eventual arrest and subsequent legal proceedings, trial, and sentencing. In the aftermath of the heinous murders of Carol, Hannah, and Louise Hunt, Kyle Clifford faced a series of legal proceedings that culminated in a landmark trial. Initially, Clifford pleaded not guilty to the charges of murder, false imprisonment, possession of offensive weapons, and the rape of his ex-girlfriend, Louise Hunt. However, on January 22, 2025, he changed his plea to guilty for the murders, false imprisonment, and weapon charges, while maintaining his innocence regarding the rape allegation. The trial for the rape charge commenced at Cambridge Crown Court in early March 2025. Prosecutors presented compelling evidence, including forensic findings and Clifford's own internet search history, which revealed his exposure to violent, misogynistic content prior to the attacks. The prosecution argued that the rape was a violent, sexual act of spite, following Louise's decision to end their relationship. Despite Clifford's denial, the jury deliberated for approximately 45 minutes before returning a unanimous guilty verdict. During the sentencing hearing, Clifford refused to leave his cell at HMP Belmarsh, opting not to face the court or the victim's family. This act was perceived as a final display of cowardice by many, including the presiding judge, Justice Joel Benathan, who described Clifford as a jealous man soaked in self-pity, a man who holds women in utter contempt. The judge emphasized the premeditated and brutal nature of the crimes, highlighting Clifford's meticulous planning and the profound impact on the surviving family members. John Hunt, the husband and father of the victims, delivered a poignant victim impact statement. Addressing Clifford directly, despite his absence, Hunt expressed his profound grief and anger, labeling Clifford as callous, cowardly, and vindictive. He recounted the immeasurable loss of his 3 beautiful mockingbirds and condemned Clifford's actions as those of a psychopath. Hunt's statement resonated deeply, capturing the emotional devastation inflicted upon the family. Amy Hunt, the surviving daughter, also provided a heartfelt statement, describing Clifford as a monster and asserting that his actions were nothing short of demonic. She reflected on how, by sheer chance, she was not present during the attack, expressing both relief and survivor's guilt. Amy highlighted Clifford's inability to confront his own failings, projecting blame onto others instead. The court also heard from Najam Khan, whose son was murdered by Clifford's brother Bradley in 2017. Khan shared his empathy with the Hunt family, acknowledging the shared pain of losing loved ones to senseless violence. He described the psychological toll such tragedies impose, emphasizing the enduring impact on surviving family members. In light of the severity of Clifford's crimes, Justice Benathan imposed a whole-life order, ensuring that Clifford would never be eligible for parole. This sentence reflects society's condemnation of such egregious acts and serves as a measure of justice for the victims and their families. The trial and sentencing underscored the profound loss experienced by the Hunt family and the community, while also highlighting the resilience and courage of those left behind. Impact on the Hunt family and community. John Hunt's resilience. Just 60 days after losing his wife and daughters, John Hunt returned to work, calling races at Brighton Racecourse for Sky Sports. He described it as achievable and realistic, recalling cherished memories with his late wife, Carol, at the same venue. Public response. The tragedy united the community in grief. Vigils were held in Bushy, where mourners left flowers and messages at the family's home. Across the nation, messages of support poured in, reflecting the deep sorrow felt for the victims. The case reignited debates on violence against women. Advocacy groups called for stricter protections, condemning the influence of misogynistic ideologies. The Hunt family's tragedy became a stark reminder of the dangers women face. Broader implications and discussions. Stricter laws on crossbow ownership. The Hunt family murders sparked urgent calls for stricter crossbow regulations in the UK. In response, the government launched a review to assess tighter controls, aiming to prevent future misuse. MPs, including Stephen Kinnock, have urged immediate action, citing the weapon's lethality. The case reignited debates on domestic violence and the dangers women face post-breakup. Advocacy groups stress the need for strong legal protections. Andrea Simon of the End Violence Against Women Coalition called it a stark reminder of ongoing risks demanding systemic change. Final thoughts and unresolved questions. The crimes of Kyle Clifford shocked the nation, not just for their brutality, but for the methodical planning behind them. A once trusted figure turned into a calculated killer, leaving behind devastation that can never be undone. For John Hunt and the surviving members of the family, the grief is immeasurable. their lives forever altered by an act of senseless violence. But the question remains, what drives a person to commit such heinous acts? Is it personal resentment, ideological influence, or something far more disturbing? And most importantly, how can society recognize and prevent such tragedies before they unfold? Now, we turn to you. What do you think led to Kyle Clifford's monstrous actions? How can we as a society better protect the innocent? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Join us next time as we uncover a case where reality twisted into something far more sinister, and the truth was more terrifying than fiction.